Hi, everyone. My name is Emily from GraphCMS, and welcome to our GraphCMS Talks with Commercetools. Today, we're talking with Brad Soo, the product marketing manager from Commercetools, about building customer experiences for the new decade. Brad, I'll let you take it away.
Thanks, Emily. Happy to join in. So a little bit about myself. My name is Brad Soo. I work as a product marketing manager at Commercetools. I started way back in the day as a front-end web developer, or just web designer as they called it back then, and have been working in the tech space for the last 10 years or so. I've done everything from hardware companies like HP all the way to the software industry, software as a service. And I got into the headless scene some 2 years ago, and I'm happy to be here at the leading headless commerce platform, Commercetools. So I'm going to walk you guys through how to build customer experiences for today. And I wanted to highlight what the biggest factor you should be thinking about when building a customer experience that you need to account for, which is change. The biggest certainty in commerce nowadays is, in fact, uncertainty. And let me just talk about what that means. Uh, If you think about how products like the television has evolved from being just black and white to a colored TV box to the flat screens that we see nowadays, um, it's easy to underestimate the amount of change that goes to the time and how much that affects how customers make their buying decisions and go through the shopping process. Different products have different levels of appeal, and it's really a combination of how you market them, where you sell them, as well as what you're offering to put everything together in one cohesive commerce experience that appeals to who you're trying to make money from. So there's been so many changes in the last 10, 20 years. I'm just going to go through a couple of uh, things that have moved about in recent times. First off, accessibility and buying experience has uh, been at the utmost focus since the Web 2.0 days. That was back in 2004 when we started turning from plain text websites into these more interactive, colorful websites with proper user interfaces, and that's evolved into not just desktop but also mobile, digital signage, even within cars, such as the ones found in Audi, one of Commercetools customers. So those guys allow you to actually make transactions from within the in-car dashboard display. So that's pretty cool. There's also been the pop-up of more and more screen-based devices, from your smartphone to little screens everywhere on your watch, your refrigerator, even your handbags. Apparently, that's what people are trying to push for. Um, I mean, even companies like Levi's recently introduced like apparel with built-in connectivity. So that's a big amount of change from just clicking around on GeoCities and Amazon's website back in when the internet first became mainstream. Aside from screens, there's also non-screen based devices, and these also play a big role in commerce as voice assistants, where people are able to order, for example, their groceries or like a quick one-time item, like maybe a deck of post-it notes, just through their voice without looking at any interface. The transactions are small, the risk is low, and it's convenient. There's also other things like the acceptance of new currencies, be it real currencies or even cryptocurrencies. There's been changes in technology where we've incorporated VR and AR to allow people to do really cool things that wouldn't have been possible in the past, like virtually trying on makeup. And then there's also increased affordability of products, along with higher spending power of the average customer. So how has change evolved over time? Well, in very recent times, we've had this coronavirus pandemic, which everyone's talking about nowadays. So can't resist to include a little example here. Um, and with the changes that are happening, like lockdowns and like medical systems being kind of pressed for resources, that has kind of trickled down into retail and buying in general, as well as how the average customer is behaving. And that itself is going to shape the buying experience moving both currently and moving forwards. And let's go and explore that now. Yeah, so with the current times that we're living in right now, the lockdown has stimulated change in customers in more ways than one. So the top three changes that are happening as we speak and will have their effects moving forwards is the change in buying behavior. So people are shifting around their priorities in terms of what products they want to buy. Some industries are positively affected, like supermarkets, groceries, resell food. Those are really booming right now. Whereas if you're selling apparel and shoes, you might be more negatively affected. There's also changes in spending power. There's increased unemployment. Um, there's going to be plenty of aftershocks from this pandemic, which can come in the form of a recession, uh, all the way to a depression, which would not be good. Um, so that really affects how customers are able to spend, because in the past 10, 20 years, we've seen like a boom in spending power, and now we're going to like likely see a dip. And people need to be prepared for that. Businesses have been in their comfort zone for so many years. Some of them might not be able to see this coming, or might not be able to react quickly enough. And lastly, the shift to e-commerce is going to be a big one. We've seen this happen very progressively in the last 20 years. The internet has been around for mainstream e-commerce, but a really out of the blue event like a pandemic has the tendency to make change happen really quickly. And with the lockdowns that are happening, there are businesses who are all desperate to transition over to e-commerce, because that is pretty much the only avenue that they have when their brick and mortar stores are closed.
Yeah, it's crazy just how fast we've all totally shifted to e-commerce. Like, I'm thinking of my grandmother who, before all of the coronavirus, didn't know how to use her phone, and now all of a sudden she's FaceTiming and trying to order things online and trying to figure out the best ways
Yeah,
of moving forward.
yeah, exactly. I've written a piece before on how different segments of the market that vary based on age, location, and all that um, have different buying patterns. But now everyone's going this unified push towards e-commerce.
Yeah.
So with e-commerce being turning from nice to have to must have, uh, there are problems faced by businesses. As I mentioned, this came as a surprise for many of them. And those who didn't have a good online presence weren't able to capitalize on the increased number of shoppers online at the beginning of this pandemic. And those who still continue to lag behind in that respect are losing sales to their competitors who do have good online shopping experiences. There's also scaling issues, because um, a lot of businesses are spread across different commerce platforms. Many of these commerce platforms are legacy systems from the past, and they just aren't able to cope with the increased number of online traffic. Imagine um, your sales turning from 10% online to 100% online. That has a big effect on the traffic that your servers receive to the API calls and interactions being done by your website by these increased amount of visitors. There's also slow time to market issues, which goes hand in hand with using a older commerce platform with perhaps an older CMS. Um, the reason is past platforms have relied on deployments that are measured in days, weeks, or months, and businesses aren't capable of adding new features very quickly and getting them released as soon as they're done. Uh, Two big examples from this pandemic are the click and collect purchase model as well as curbside pickup, where you make an order online and then you drive over to the store and you kind of pick it up from literally the curbside, so you can minimize contact with other human beings. So if you wanted to add that system to your e-commerce website, it's not so easily done in a legacy system. Whereas if you're using something like Headless platform, kind of like what Commercetools offers, you're able to develop that and quickly have that deployed without running into hiccups like trying to make it work with the existing feature set that's kind of set in stone and more flexible that way. And then there's also cost of ownership issues. Legacy systems have a lot of unseen costs, from downtime to troubleshooting, to trying to fix bugs as you extend the platform beyond what it was originally made for. And you have to resort to doing all these duct tape measures to make everything work properly and not bug out in front of the user. And this is a huge factor, particularly with the potential economic effects of the pandemic. Their companies are going to have less money available to them, less resources, and this is going to affect everything down the line. It's a line of dominoes falling one after the other. So it's kind of crucial having a modern buying experience, both for your customer and also for the sustainability of your business. You kind of go through quickly what caused all of this. There are two main factors, which are the comfort zone that I mentioned before this. Companies have been relying on offline commerce for the longest time, and e-commerce was just yet another avenue, but now it's the only avenue that they can make revenue from. And then there's also business model where some companies are slow to adopt the latest tech, and they're kind of stuck on older platforms that make them very rigid and unable to react to change in the market quickly. I mean, businesses are facing potential bankruptcies. Like the larger companies at least can apply for bailouts, but the smaller businesses, medium-sized ones, those are big question marks at the moment, because no one knows how long the lockdown is going to last. And I mean, even on a normal day, it's important to be able to react quickly, because even if there was no pandemic, your competition could suddenly launch a whole new product line that completely smashes yours.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're slow to get things out there to make people aware that you have your answer to the competition, that you're going to be kind of stuck as a number two and continue sinking downwards in the market compared to other companies. So with that in mind, how can you shape your buying experience for this new decade? The answer is quite simple: to use a modern commerce solution for your shopping needs, as well as to modernize the rest of your business ecosystem. By that, you might also use a CMS. You might want to consider switching out to a newer one, which uses GraphQL, for example. There's just a need to modernize your business from back to front. The reason being, your e-commerce is just one part of your business, and CMS is one part, and you could have a payments processor that's another part. It's just these different systems that need to work with one another. There's no one piece that can stand alone by itself. And by having one thing that's modern, that's great. You're able to move fast in that respect. But the other legacy parts of your business environment are going to keep you lagging behind for as long as you don't make the switch to modernize the rest of it. What a modern commerce system in specific gives you is scalability and flexibility. What that means is you're able to create a bunch of product listings, for example, and have that in your backend, and only have that done once. And with a headless modern commerce system, you're able to tack on like a separate front end that can be updated and developed separately from what you have back behind the scenes. And what the implications of this means is that you can have these two updated asynchronously. So whichever one has something new to deploy, that can go out immediately. You don't need to wait for your front end if you have something new in the back end and vice versa. There's also modularity. You can add, um, for example, a CMS to easily integrate with your e-commerce system and have both your business blog show up next to your product listings. And that gives people a more joint experience, that they're able to find information about the products that they need, but also perhaps read a blog post about your development process, or how you came about with the idea to make this product that you're trying to sell them. There's also continued business and revenue through new channels. In this case, the very recent example being the online channel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's built for fast changing business models. If your business decides to make stuff other than apparel because that's going down in terms of sales in the pandemic, and you want to switch over to maybe making masks, because both of them use fabric, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're able to do that pretty quickly, not just on the manufacturing side. That's another part of the equation. But once you're able to do this, you're able to get these products online very quickly as well onto your online presence. Um, it's always up to date. You don't need to wait for the latest and greatest version that's released next quarter, next year. With a modern commerce system, it's always up to date. You're always getting new features as they're being developed by folks like Commercetools. And you're able to kind of just opt in and get the updates immediately. You also pay for what you need, and in the sense that with a bigger suite, you're paying for the whole package that was made for a general purpose to sell to as many commerce platform users as possible. Whereas with a modern commerce platform, you're able to kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together and just utilize what you want. You're not paying for features that you don't need at all. That's part of a suite. And there's also this whole one cohesive experience, which will come in at any time, not just during current times, where you're able to have this website, for example, deliver a similar experience to what you would get on mobile, and then have that consistency also pushed to your digital signages in your store, to billboards that may be uh, touch screens at the bus stop, all the way to your smartwatch and even refrigerator. You're able to get your brand and the look and feel of your commerce experience and have people um, familiar with whatever it is they were expecting from your website, um, apply it on a much broader scale across any device or touch point that they come across that has your business on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the most amazing things about Headless is like it lets you kind of keep brand consistency for the technologies of today, but also gives you the flexibility. So if for whatever reason your purse is now advertising with screens or whatever, then, with a headless system, it's easy to adapt to that and create kind of a user experience that people are familiar with, even for technologies that we don't know that aren't existing yet, which I think is pretty cool.
Exactly. I think one problem is, for example, you might have this widget that you're selling on your website, but if you didn't have a single backend like modern commerce to have a single point of reference for the storefront, you might run into problems where someone didn't add it to your fridge UI, and when someone tries to buy that same product that they saw on your website through their fridge at home, it's going to say there's no such thing.
Hmm.
That's a bad experience, because the customer, what goes through the customer's mind is, I'm looking at this brand and I'm looking at the exact same brand, yet they're behaving like they're two different entities altogether.
Totally. Thank you, Brad, for that. That was really enlightening and very helpful. If you have a little bit of time, I would love just to ask you a couple of questions on these topics quickly.
Sure.
Great. Okay. Do you have any tips for companies that maybe had a previously limited online presence who are trying to shift quickly to a more modern tech stack?
Yeah, definitely. I would say first and foremost advice is to consider moving online if you haven't already, or simply to modernize your online presence, because that's going to play a big part moving forward in the future. One way that you can kind of fast forward the ability to get your business on the internet very quickly is via uh, our integrations marketplace. So Commercetools has an extensive partner network that we've been working with. There's folks like GraphCMS who deliver content management. There's payment processors, CRMs, and various other things that you would connect your commerce platform to within your business environment. And the way you can move quickly on that is to have all these connections attached and established as quickly as you can. And the integration marketplace that we launched gives you exactly that one-stop place to check out integrations from different partners, as well as ways to extend the platform, uh, and being able to do that very quickly and seamlessly thanks to our working together with all these external parties.
That sounds great. If people are trying to learn more about Commercetools, what's the best way to go about that?
I would recommend checking out our website, commercetools.com. There's plenty of information on there about our product, the modern commerce platform. You can also check out the blog. I run the tech blog, which is techblog.commercetools.com. And then there's also our more business-oriented blog, which is the blog.commercetools.com. And yeah, I recommend you check out our content and to be able to find out more about how modern commerce can help serve you, and also how we are able to connect with other systems and platforms within your business environment.
Great. Thank you so much. This has been really awesome to talk to you, and this topic was really enlightening, especially considering the current situation of the world. But yeah, thank you so much for your time, Brad. And yeah, talk to you soon.
You're welcome, Emily. Thank you for your time as well.